Good morning. It is Wednesday, January 26th, 2022, and coming to you from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington, this is the Best Lamb Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamb, and with me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
Yeah, everyone's awake this morning. It's great. I'm glad everyone could make it because it's early. It's an early show. Anymore.
Literally, two dogs sleeping around me.
We do morning show now. In case we didn't tell you, we changed everything, so now we tape it in the morning and we just put it on YouTube for later, and you can watch at your convenience. Isn't that nice of us?
It's a little easier that way.
Generous. I mean, I feel like we're being generous.
Probably a nice thing we're doing for people.
Yeah, so we're streaming on YouTube. You can just go in and watch it. Actually, it's recorded and it's on there, and I release it, and so it's up into the public. All you have to do is search the Best Lamb Sports Show in the YouTube bar, and you'll find it. You'll find all the episodes that are on there. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show, and you can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com. Please check out our webpage, which is also lambsports.com. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on the website. We had well, you know what? Let's do the ad first.
Ad.
Let's do the ad. We got to pay some bills, so we're gonna do the ad first, which is the first part of the show is brought to you by The Range. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination. At 34,000 square feet, The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services, all under one roof at The Range. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sundays 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 509-571-1449. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. Okay, so we had a very exciting NFL weekend.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, we're going to talk about 4 really good football games. The NBA is about halfway through, which kind of snuck up on me, I guess.
Yeah, it's happening quick.
Because they're almost at the All-Star game.
Yeah, they are. But the All-Star games, I don't know. I feel like it's a little over halfway. Yeah, so we're actually making good time.
It's like at 50 games, I think the All-Star game is. But anyway, and then John Stockton's in the news. Again, it's been a while, I think, since he's been in the news.
He's not exactly known for headlines.
Not a public figure normally, but he's a little controversial right now. And then also the United States Football League is in the news, and if you like football, it's great. And we'll talk a lot more about the USFL and what it has or has not done in the past when we get to the second half of the show. So right off the bat, I want to ask the trivia question because we didn't do it last week until the end, and you didn't have time to really think about it, and so
still good.
It was a good trivia question. And this one is good too. So since the USFL is in the news, yep, I thought we would have a USFL trivia question.
I like it.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, the United States Football League, the original iteration of the league was from 1983 to 1985, 3 seasons. That's all it was. And it eventually had 18 teams at one point. It was big, and it had some gigantic names in it. And so that is where NFL, Hall of Famers were in the USFL. And that's my question. So the USFL had 3 MVPs because they only had 3 seasons. I want to know if you can name 2 of the 3 MVPs of the United States Football League. That's all I want to know. So if you're a real sports fan, will be fairly simple. If you're not a super huge, and you're not old, I mean, you got to be a little bit older probably to know it, unless you just studied the USFL.
Right.
But these 3 players were, MVPs. I was originally going to ask who were the Hall of Famers that came from, because there's only 4 players that were Hall of Famers that came from the USFL, NFL Hall of Famers. So, but now I changed it. We're going with MVPs. There's only 3. Your job is to name 2. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, I'm sure you have the answer. This is an easy question.
I know some of them.
Whatever. Okay. So, I mean, simmer down. Let's talk about NFL football from the weekend because, holy cow, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was the best weekend of football, NFL football, I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not just you. Like they've gone on and measured it out with like viewership ratings and how you can rate like, Twitter comments and things like that. More people were talking about this weekend in football than any other weekend in football in history.
Yeah. And
So,
the reason is you had 8 teams playing that all 8 fan bases in the fourth quarter of their respective games believed they were going to win.
right.
I don't think I've ever seen that in a playoff weekend. Usually there's last weekend blowouts galore. In this weekend, every team had a chance to win. Going into the fourth quarter, that's just ridiculous. So, yeah, it turned out. Let's talk about the Bengals and Titans first, I guess, because it was probably the least thrilling of the games. Just I think because of the way it played out. But Evan McPherson hits a 52-yard field goal for the Bengals as time expires, sends them to the AFC Championship game. Ryan Tannehill had 3 interceptions in this one. That kind of doomed Tennessee. Tennessee was one of those teams that I started out great, and then Derrick Henry got hurt, and they still won. They were still winning football games.
Yeah, they're still doing well.
They were the number 1 seed in the AFC, but I never at any point in time felt like they were that team. Did you?
Well, no, because last week on this show, I said that they were the most at risk of getting upset.
It's true.
I said that they were the most likely to have it happen because I felt like Ryan Tannehill needs momentum. If he doesn't have, and momentum is week to week,
right?
And he lost a week. He lost momentum. He lost being in the news. He lost being important, and it was a whole thing. And he came back and he played like playoff Tannehill.
Playoff Tannehill. Yeah, you're right, and you did say that. Let's give you all the credit because you did absolutely say that they were at most risk of an upset. And what did they do? They went out and just laid an egg.
They went out and laid an egg. It wasn't like they got blown out,
no.
But they didn't. They're the number 1 overall seed. Like you should win this game, walking away.
And I don't feel like Cincinnati's that team should not be in the AFC Championship game. That is not a team that is that good.
Well, I don't think it would have mattered whether they played. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I don't think it would have mattered who they were going to face in the AFC Championship game. They're going to get smoked by whoever.
Right.
And so that's unfortunate. So, yeah, I don't think they have a real place there.
No. And hopefully they will put up a fight, and it'll be a good football game. But we'll see.
I just don't know that I'm ready to, believe in Joe Burrow, especially since I want to believe that Justin Herbert's better.
Right.
Little bias there. But if Joe Burrow makes it to a Super Bowl first, it's like, well, that sucks.
Well, they survived the Raiders, right?
Survived the Raiders.
Right.
And then survived
the Titans. They didn't beat anybody in a way that you go.
Tennessee played down to their level big time. Whereas the Raiders, I think, played up to their level.
And so they've gotten a little lucky, too, the Bengals, in that the first game was a home game.
It was a home game with a weird controversial call that was on a touchdown, whole thing.
And then they play at Tennessee on the road. Their first road game isn't in a super cold weather. They didn't have a super frozen tundra place to go play. So playing in Tennessee, it gets cold, but it's not. It's always a good place to play in the winter. So
how do you feel about Tennessee trying to restrict purchase? Well, it's just all teams. All these teams in the league are trying to restrict purchases from opposing fan bases. Well, they say they're trying to restrict botting.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Rams, or the Rams' upcoming game at SoFi,
right?
You have to have an LA street address, billing address in order to buy the tickets. You cannot buy them without an LA billing address.
Well, that particular rule is garbage.
It's interesting though, because if you're trying to combat botters, well, what if I have I can just use my LA address? What if I live in an address in LA? What if I live in LA and I'm a botter?
Right.
It's not going to stop me from doing it.
Right.
But it will stop somebody from San Francisco who's a botter who isn't planning on going to the game but is just trying to make some money.
Sure.
So I don't know. I kind of get it, kind of don't get it. This falls back on something we talked about a couple weeks ago, where I said that there are people who own Trailblazers season tickets who live in Idaho and who've never been to a game. Well, and they just buy them to sell them.
Well, yeah, but there's people out there. There's LA Rams fans that live elsewhere
that don't live in LA.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of I think it's kind of a wishy-washy thing, but the what I need to know is it going to stop more people than it's going to hurt?
And here's my question: what if I'm super multi-millionaire or billionaire that lives in Chicago,
You don't
but
have the problem.
but I'm an LA Rams fan? You're not having an issue. It's not affecting you. So if it's not going to affect everyone, then
Right.
why have it? You know what I mean? If it's not going to be fair for everyone, then that's a bad rule to
Well,
me.
so the one thing I'll agree with is if I mean I don't think it's just LA. I think it's the counties immediately around LA.
Right.
Like it's they're just trying to make it clear that it's that area.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is a good thing is it would suck that people in that area couldn't go watch the team because all the tickets were bought up by, were bought up by Rams fans or not Rams fans, 49ers fans,
Right.
or were bought up by scalpers,
Right.
and bots. That would really suck.
Or
So
or
I kind of get it.
or bought up by multi-billionaires that live in Chicago.
Or bought up by billionaires who live in Chicago.
I
But
mean,
those people don't have to buy tickets. We know this.
well,
They get invited to the game.
that's true. They're
They
probably
go sit in
friends of
Roger
someone.
Goodell's box.
Right. Or yeah, or whoever's. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. That's true. That's a different thing for those people.
But
But
the
I mean,
Titans were trying to do it for the Bengals. They were trying to restrict the volume of ticket sales to under 25%
well,
for
yeah,
Bengals fans.
I don't. I don't like it. I understand having a home field advantage and you want more of your fans there. I get that. I get it. But I don't think that Cincinnati and Tennessee are not far enough apart to try and limit that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's like next week when you have LA and San Francisco. The people from San Francisco travel to LA all the time and vice versa. It is not a big deal.
Right.
Cincinnati and Tennessee might be the same distance. You just have to go through Kentucky because Cincinnati is literally just on the other side of the border of Kentucky, and Nashville is what, an hour into the border the other direction into Tennessee.
Right.
You just have to get through Kentucky. It's not that far. So I don't know. It's weird. I get what you're saying and I get what they're saying about wanting to restrict bots and empty seats and people just trying to make money off of things. But if you're just doing it because you don't want Cincinnati Bengals fans at your football game, that's not okay. That would be my answer. So I guess I would need more research and information as to the intent because they're always going to tell you the intent is noble, right?
Well, but I mean, but I just the thing I don't like. So 40 years ago, if you wanted to go to a game, you had to drive there and hope there were
To the
tickets.
stadium, yeah,
Would
or
you do that if you were a 49ers fan? Maybe.
camp
Half of the
out,
people who are camp out, you have to
right,
try and get them when they launched them.
right,
Half of the people who are diehard 49ers fans would not make that commitment right now. The reason why they can make it right now is because of the internet. They can
right,
buy the ticket online today and not have to worry about it. If they knew that, we have to drive to the stadium 2 days before and sleep overnight, or we have to go down there on the day of and hope. That a lot of people aren't doing that crap anymore.
yeah,
So I but the benefit of that was stadiums became home
home
stadiums.
field, yeah, it's
Yeah,
true,
you got local people went to the game. That's kind of going away. And while that might be great for an out of town person, I think that's a terrible thing, especially to a team like the Rams and the Chargers who are trying to develop their home identity
right.
because they don't quite have it because it's still a little wonky in there.
Well, and LA, let's admit that LA has never really been a football town. It's a basketball town, baseball town with the Dodgers. It is.
It's definitely more of those things. Yes.
Yes, it is. It is. I would venture to say there are more people that go to USC Trojan games than go to uh, LA Rams games. Just
I feel like that's probably fair.
yeah. So I mean that's the pro football because it's been in and out of LA so many times.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and they lost a lot of fan base back in the day in the '70s. Early '80s when they were the LA Rams, great, and then they moved to St. Louis, lost their fan base. Right, it's gone.
Yeah.
And then San Diego Chargers were in San Diego. There was nobody, and then all of a sudden they had the LA Raiders, right? Which wasn't
Yeah.
their fan. That's not their team. That's Oakland's team. And then next thing you know, they got the LA Chargers, and they got the Rams back, right? They lost that fan base. Then they got the Chargers. That's San Diego's team. That's not LA's team. So they're
Yeah.
still trying to work on that whole relationship of having two football teams there. That, I mean, the Rams burned their bridges when they left. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but the way you do it is you You have like you make it special again for home team fans. Like this run is good for LA football,
Right.
but if people can't go to the game, it's always gonna be bad for LA football.
We got a little off topic.
A little off topic.
A little off topic. Let's go to game 2. That was
Game
on
2.
Saturday. Game 2 on Saturday was Niners at Packers. And while the score 13-10 Niners is not it's not mind-blowing, the way it happened was amazing. The Packers owned the 49ers for 3 3/4 of this football game. The Niners could not move the football. They couldn't do anything right. It was bad. And it was snowy. I get it. And it's at Lambeau, and the Packers are at home, and you would expect them to dominate. The Packers hadn't lost a game at home all year.
Sure.
And then came the blocked punt that tied the football game. Didn't tie the football game. Moved the Niners ahead, right? So, was that right?
That sounds right. I would. This was the one game I was unable to watch.
So the block. So it was the field goal. Mason Crosby hits a field goal with 11:27 left. Put him up. Put Green Bay up 10-3. It was the blocked punt that tied the game with 4:41 left, and then Robbie Gould hits a 45-yard field goal with no time left to give the Niners the win. And it was the Packers late in the game who couldn't really do anything. And it was interesting. It was a good football game. I mean, that was a really good football game to watch. If you didn't see the blocked punt and the end of the game for the game-winning field goal, and you just watched the rest of the game, you didn't see anything. There was nothing happening. So it was the great last, 10 minutes of that football game, which made it a great game. And it brings us to Aaron Rodgers, which we're going to talk about in the second half, and his future in Green Bay, because we don't know. And there's no real stats to talk about in this game because nobody did anything, other than the blocked punt, which is former USC standout Talanoa Hufanga, who ran the punt back 6 yards into the end zone, by the way.
He's a hero now.
Yeah, Hufanga. Anyway, Sunday's games were better than the Saturday games by a long stretch, in my opinion. And we're going to start with the Rams dethroning the Buccaneers in Tampa in what was one of the wildest finishes I've seen. The Rams were up 27-3 in the third, and then gave up 24 straight points to the Buccaneers. They tried to lose it, and they turned the ball over. LA turned the ball over 4 times. If they don't fumble away the ball 4 times, then
Akers, man, he's happy they
twice.
walked out of that with a win.
Yeah, he fumbled twice, lost it twice. Cooper Kupp lost a football. I don't know if I've ever seen Cooper Kupp fumble. But
he lost it at the sideline too. I felt like I was like, oh, come on, please just go out, and then it just didn't. And I was like, dang it.
Yeah, and they tried to lose the game. They tried to give it away, but they weren't bad enough to lose it. So
just barely good enough to win it.
They held on, and the end of the game. Here, I'll play it because why not? Because this is what we do, right? The game ended like this if you didn't see it.
Out of the MVP balloting, it's a crime. 30 yards to win the game. Matt Gape boots it through. And the Rams, by the hair of their skinny teeth.
I had to hear him say that. That's all. That was Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth from NBC on the call. I do love Al Michaels. He's been around for he's like 100 now. But that group, those two guys, I laugh every time they come on TV because I don't know if it's NBC doing it or those two guys doing it, but every time you see them, they're wearing the same outfit. It's not exactly the same in color, but if you're wearing a jacket, I'm wearing a jacket. If you're wearing a sweater, I'm wearing a sweater. Have you noticed that? So, lost Parker somewhere. I have no audio.
Oh, no, sorry. I was coughing, so I muted the mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Just for reference, if that ever happens, look up at the top right. You see the little mute button will be popped up there underneath my name. No, so
I didn't even see
you
it.
have to match. There used to be a time when you're like a personality, and that was like a big deal, and so you matched, just like the news anchors always match.
Well, yeah, and then Monday Night Football is always done. They had those jackets when they first came
right.
out. Monday Night Football jackets you wore. But it's still, it's not the matching that bothers me. It's the fact that, if we're going to go without jackets, we all have to go without jackets. Just shirt and tie with our sleeves rolled up. but we both do
Right.
it at the same time. I don't. Why do we both have to be exactly the same? Why is that a thing?
Well,
And I don't.
I
Get it.
like the third quarter jacket shed.
Yeah, they do that, right?
It's like,
We're
well,
get-
it's getting late in this. It's getting down to the nitty gritty.
we're
I
ge-
want you guys to know that I'm working hard
we're getting into this
for
game now.
you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get this jacket off and roll off these sleeves. Oh, it's almost halftime. Jacket goes back on so
Yeah.
we can go get our food and stuff like that.
Yeah, next week I'll show you guys. I'll show you pictures of, and it's Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth do it more than anybody else that I've seen. It's interesting to me just to watch it happen because every time you see them at the beginning of the game, they're wearing their jackets and their ties and they look, they're professional. And then at some point in time, because hey, we're at Green Bay or we're wherever, they're wearing heavy jackets with a sweater and the shirt underneath. And then at some point in time, that if it's nice weather, then in third quarter, they've rolled up their sleeves and they've taken off the jackets, and we're getting into this now, and it's just weird. It just seems weird because why are both of you doing it? Why are you guys exactly the same? Somebody.
Yeah, it's not necessary. I don't think.
I don't think so. All right, so that was a big deal. Matt Stafford hits Cooper Kupp 44 yards, set up the game winner by Matt Gay, and without the 4 turnovers, Tampa Bay doesn't come back. But to their credit, they were intentionally going after the football. They were trying to strip, trying to smack the ball. That's how they play. So
yeah,
you have to.
And they've got a really good run defense and some really good linebackers and things like that. And Dominican Sue actually played fantastic.
You did.
So
got a little angry there at the beginning. Got himself an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. But if you had a game without him getting an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
he gets
I
angry.
just like
He plays
watching
angry.
Matt Stafford absolutely scream at his linemen to hurry up.
Yeah.
As he's running down the field,
Yeah.
he is drowning out every bit of crowd noise, yelling at them to hurry up.
If you didn't think he wanted to win, that was your cue that he's all in on this one.
Yeah, he wanted it more than anybody else on that field. And I think somebody was trying to sub off.
Right.
And he was like, no, downfield.
We need to spike the ball. Let's go.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Just get there.
And so in a weekend where you had 3 games that were decided by last-second field goals, maybe the best game of the group wasn't, but it was a touchdown in overtime that sent the Chiefs to the AFC Championship. The Chiefs beat the Bills 42-36, and that was another wild football game where at the end, neither team could stop the other team.
It just went off.
Fourth quarter. Yeah, it just became this. I mean, it was back and forth pretty much the whole game, and then it was Chiefs score, Bills score, Chiefs score, and it was so ridiculous that it went into overtime. And the 13 seconds left in regulation, Kansas City got the ball back and needed a field goal, and the Bills were helpless to stop them from that. There's just they just, in my opinion, they blew that terribly. But Kansas City has a lot of weapons. They got a lot of people with a lot of speed that get open, and that's just how they beat you. And it's hard to stop when you've got Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes on the field at the same time. Anyway,
there's Travis Kelce was mic'd up during the game. There's an audio clip of him telling Tyreek Hill, hey, if they shade you on man, you just need to cut back in and you'll have some space. And so on that first play, he does that, and then he walks over and tells Patrick Mahomes, hey, that seam is open.
right.
And then as they're at the line, Patrick Mahomes is yelling, Kelce, do that. And then he does that. So Travis Kelce essentially called both game tying routes.
Yeah, Travis Kelce is a very smart football player, and the only issue I had with the game was that late in the game, Travis Kelce does some illegal blocks downfield, on some screen passes and a running play or two, and they didn't call it, which makes it really hard as a defensive player when you're guarding him to know whether he's going to block you or whether he's going to fake like he's going to and then run a route. And if you call the holding penalty downfield, you'll know you can just play coverage, you know what I mean, like you're supposed to. Yeah. So instead of bracing for the impact that he's going to take you out when he shouldn't be able to. Anyway, there was at least 2 or 3 times I saw it, but it's kind of, the NFL just lets that go for the most part. I think the rules about blocking are not enforced the way they should be, but it's okay.
Definitely not often enough.
That's how the game kind of progresses now. It's a passing, short pass game. The big passing plays are few and far between. It's more rarer now to have those gigantic plays. But anyway, yeah, no, Chiefs win 42-36 in overtime. And this, if we can get it up here, and I will, this is the final play of the game. Are you ready? This is
perfect play call for the Chiefs, and here it is. Mahomes has hit his last 8. Looking to the end zone for the win. He caught it. Ball game.
It was a double move by Travis Kelce to the outside, and then an underthrown football, which he made it a good.
Didn't look great.
He made a good adjustment to catch it. It was a great catch, but it was an underthrown football by Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, it was. That was Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. It's not very often you give the color guy the top billing, but I'm going to. That was Tony Romo and Jim Nantz on the call, and
Jim wishes he could be as good as Tony.
Right. I think Jim Nantz just kind of says what he needs to say and steps out the way, and that's probably the right thing.
What he should do. Yep.
That's what he should do. It was a great football game, though, to watch. The whole weekend was just amazing. Every game that you watched, you would have been interested in. None of them got out of hand except the Rams-Buccaneers game. And at some point in time, you might have in the third quarter said, Rams have got this. But, yeah, other than that, every other game was back and forth. So, yeah, it was great. As a fan, it's great.
Good week. It was a good weekend.
Yeah, so anyway, that last game basically came down to a coin flip to decide who is going to win the game, which we don't like, and I don't like anyway. We're going to talk about that here in the second half of the show. I think that's bogus that we have that happens in the overtime rules. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So here's the schedule. Here's what's coming up. If you haven't been paying attention, Cincinnati at Kansas City. It's at 12 noon Pacific. It's on CBS again. Tony Romo, Jim Nantz, and then San Francisco at the LA Rams is the NFC Championship game. That's at 3:30 p.m. Pacific on Fox, and I'm assuming that's Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I have to assume they're the number one. They're the A team.
Yeah, they should be.
They should be, because I can't imagine Joe Buck being anywhere else. I like Joe Buck's voice better than any of the other guys. Let me just say that. But yeah, his style not necessarily as good as some of the others, but I like his voice. If you get Joe Buck and Tony Romo, we'd have it made.
Match made in heaven.
Right. Anyway, so that's the championship games. Who you got? You got Kansas City, because you have Kansas City winning it all, right?
I got Kansas City versus the Rams in the final.
Okay, that's what I have too. So
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the season, you had Kansas City and Tampa in a rematch. So the Rams knocked you out of that, but you still have one dog in there. I had Kansas City and LA in the championship game, so I still have both my teams, and I picked LA to win. Would you still pick Kansas City to win?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna be on opposite sides. Here we go.
I've got no reason to believe they wouldn't be.
It's gonna get exciting. That's all I'm saying. All right. So the second half of the show we're coming up to now, brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Be sure to tune in to BossKittyLive.com for knit-alongs, exclusive sales, games, fun, and you can meet new fiber friends. Go on to BossKittyShop.com, get your DK and fingering weight yarns, as well as stitch and progress markers. Looking for a gift for someone? Get them a Boss Kitty Shop virtual gift card and let them pick it out themselves. That's Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So, second half of the show, we're going to talk about some things, because we have some things to talk about that are bothering me, I guess, more or less. NFL overtime rule is going to start with that because of the way that game ended. And by the way, not happy in the studio this morning. My glasses broke.
How'd you break your glasses?
I don't know. I literally took them off my face, and my blue glasses where they connect, like right here, they have just a top frame, right, that goes around.
Yeah.
They don't go all the way around. The lenses came off of it. The glue just came undone.
That's not great.
And I was not real thrilled about that. Just gonna say. And so now I'm wearing backup glasses. The
Backups are worse.
Birth control glasses, as we refer to them in the Army. But they work. I mean, that's all that matters. These are from the dollar store, by the way. So,
I think your backup glasses should be rec specs.
I need some goggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need some goggles. Yeah, exactly. The Kurt Rambis style, the old. Anyway, what the NFL overtime rule is currently, and by the way, I didn't know this until this game, that the overtime rule in the playoffs is different than the overtime rules in regulation, and in regular season. I don't understand why that is. in regular season, 10-minute overtime period, we flip a coin. If the team that takes the ball first, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. If the team that takes the ball first scores a touchdown, game's over. So it's sudden death. If they kick a field goal or don't score, the other team gets a chance with the ball, and at that point now it's sudden death. Unless that team kicks a field goal and this team kicks a field goal, then we keep playing, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And in playoffs, they made it 15 minutes instead of 10 minutes. Why do you need more time to decide it in overtime than you did in playoffs than you did in regular season? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Maybe they found more of those games, or maybe more of those overtime periods are going longer.
So what's this? I don't like the coin toss thing because at the end of regulation for the Bills Chiefs, no one could stop either team. The team that won the coin toss and got the ball first was probably going to win this football game.
Yeah,
that was just a given. So that to me means why even play it? Just flip the coin and that team wins at that point. Yeah. Most of the overtime games I think are decided that way. The first team that has the ball wins the game.
Actually, I was reading it's less than I thought it was. It's like it's a little under 60%.
The first team
wins, but it's very predictable. So like 1 year I was watching the Seahawks versus the Broncos in the preseason.
Yeah.
And it went to overtime. It was week 4, I think it was, or something like that. And it went to overtime, and the Seahawks had just scored on their last 2 drives, and they won the toss, and they scored on that drive too. Sometimes you also Matt Hasselback it, though, and you say, we're going to take the ball and we're going to score.
We're going to score.
And you don't.
That one was great. That's one of the...
I say it all the time when I'm playing flag football.
That's
we want the ball and we're going to score.
That's one of the best moments in football, I think. But the coin tosses are some of the best moments. The coin toss for Pittsburgh that was called incorrectly, right? Where they called tails and they said they called heads and it's heads, and I'm like, what? They didn't call heads. You know what I mean? They messed it up. Anyway, the coin toss is a bad way to do things. I think that the college overtime process is better than the NFL's overtime process. I still think you just play a whole period. Let's just play 15 minutes. Put 15 minutes on the clock. Let's do it like we did it before, right? Now, how do you decide who gets the ball? We can do that with a coin flip, but if you're going to play the whole 15 minutes, then it's going to be fair because you can't. The odds are you're not going to have a 15-minute drive and score and win the game. I don't know if that's ever happened.
I think the longest drive in NFL history was like 11 minutes and something seconds.
That is a long time to hold the football. You know what has to happen? You have to have penalties.
Yeah, you have to get to third down and then get bailed out by a 5-yard penalty that gets you a first down.
Right. There has to be. I mean, an 11-minute drive has to be like 16 plays or 17 plays in order to get to that.
Or you had a bunch of penalties,
right?
And then
and overcame
barely
them.
Snuck out a first down.
Right. Yeah. Oh, now it's 2nd and 20. We got 21 yards. Okay, we ran up. Yeah.
I got it. You would take like a hold and then a hold and then a hold. Now it's 1st and 30.
Yep.
Or 1st and 25, or something like that. And then they get a defensive hands to the face 5-yard penalty.
A 5-yard automatic first down penalty.
So you went back 25, got 5 first down.
I have not understood why the automatic first down is such a thing in the NFL. I don't like it. Offsides is a 5-yard penalty. It's not an automatic first down. But every other 5-yard defensive penalty is an automatic first down. That doesn't make any sense. Why is that? Why is a team that's on 4th? Your team could be 4th and 99. It could be 4th and goal from your own 1. And you get a 5-yard holding penalty against the defense. It's an automatic first down. That is dumb. Yeah. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Really.
Pretty preposterous.
So why don't we fix that? But that's a whole different thing. We're talking about overtime. How do we fix overtime?
Just more time. Just put 15 minutes on the clock. You already said it.
So when it's tied at the end of that period, then what do we do?
Put 15 minutes on the clock.
Just keep playing.
In playoffs, yeah. Just keep going.
Just to make it like hockey and just keep playing.
Yeah, I don't care that they have. I mean, we don't have the ability. I mean, eventually we can get to a kickoff, and the kickers can come out, and we can start doing it from different lengths. You know, like 25, 25, 35, 35, 45,
like a shootout?
45. Yeah, like a shootout. We could have that happen if they wanted to have a way to do it. But I mean, I don't. The problem is that they're all making like justifications. Well, that's a lot of stress on players. I don't care. They make so much damn money to play a game. Right. I don't care that they have to play an extra 15 and then maybe an extra 15. And of that 15, they're going to spend 7 of it probably on the bench. And of
Probably.
that 7, it's broken up by 3 timeouts and 2 media timeouts. I don't care. Just play more time. Play more time until we figure it out. I don't care if it runs 10 hours long. I know you guys got the 2-episode premiere of The Equalizer on next, but I don't need to see that crap. Move the game along.
So make a note of that. Parker's not an Equalizer fan. But
If it's not Denzel, it doesn't need to happen.
right? I mean, that was kind of. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm sure they explain why it's not Denzel in the show.
You
I'm sure they
think?
address
I don't
it.
know. I haven't even watched it. Maybe it's great, but I watched the teaser for it. This is dumb. We're off topic. I watched the teaser for the Equalizer, and I watched Queen Latifah jump off of a fire escape and land in the alleyway right when she was chasing someone. This was part of their teaser, and I looked at it and I went, "There is no way." First of all, that she did that. I believe that Denzel Washington could do that, but I do not believe that she did that from 10 feet up. There's that's not happening. And you can tell by the way they cut the scene that it wasn't her. But anyway, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
The Equalizer.
Apparently, it's based off a show from the 80s.
I'm glad you brought it up because it was on TV. It was a good TV show back in the 80s. It was on TV. Yeah, but anyway, so let's talk about something else.
Sure.
Now I'm just gonna sit here and laugh all day about the Equalizer. I'm glad that we're talking about that. Let's talk about Antonio Brown, and this is probably the best picture that I could find that sums up Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is suing everyone.
Yep.
He went on to HBO Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel and him and his attorney, his agent. I don't know if it was his agent. It was a guy. They said they were going to sue everyone, basically, and they were after what's the guy's name? Sean Burston. That's his attorney. That's who he went on there with. Said that Bruce Arians ignored his pleas not to re-enter the game, and that he was too injured to continue playing against the Jets earlier this year, but they forced him to take a shot and go back in. And then they were going to sue for Brown's. They want money for his ankle injury, his surgery, and money they feel he is owed by the collective bargaining agreement because of what they did to him, quote unquote.
Sure.
He also said they're looking into a possible civil lawsuit in the form of defamation for the Bucks claiming Brown had a spontaneous mental health episode.
It's fair.
Is it? Is the question. So I don't know that anyone ever said he had a mental health episode. What Bruce Arians said was, I hope he gets help.
Yeah.
That he needs, or if he needs it.
It's implying exactly what you think.
Well, what kind of help? He didn't say mental help. Maybe it was just he needs a better agent, or maybe he just needs
choosing to be socially unaware of what he's getting at is not the same as not being aware of what he's getting at. But he's saying what everyone has said for the past 10 years, but that doesn't mean it's something he needs to say.
But we're talking about a different level here. Talking about what is the politically correct thing to say and or phrasing is different than in court proving that that's what he meant. You can't do that. You can't prove his intent by saying, "Oh, this is what he said and this is what he meant." You don't know that. So, yeah, you do.
Well, there's enough of evidence. I mean, I know.
I agree.
The world knows. We all know exactly what he meant, and a judge might go, "Yeah, that's what you meant, bro."
Right.
But he said the right thing first. I wish him all the best.
Yeah.
Stop there. That's plenty fine.
Well, here's the problem.
I'll have to comment on the next part.
Here's the problem. If you want me to take you seriously as an athlete, start acting seriously as an athlete, and don't strip down in the middle of the game and throw your jersey and make a big old spectacle of it. That looked like a mental health episode. No one else has ever done that.
Bruce Arians is the guy who just got fined $25,000 for running onto the field and slapping his player's helmet because his player was talking.
Well,
Bruce Arians is not exactly a beacon of calm.
No.
And rational. And unfortunately, I've said that when he was at the Cardinals, and I thought that he was hot-headed. I would not surprise. So I'm not saying that Antonio Brown is right in a lot of his doings here. I'm not saying that he went about it right. I'm saying that I'm an overreactor.
Yeah.
And when somebody gets on my crap in the wrong way, I'm probably going to overreact.
Yeah.
But it still takes that person being that way to get me to that point. I'm not going to help the situation, but I didn't cause the situation necessarily. Now, I don't know if Antonio Brown did or did not, but but they're being real hush with Arians now.
Well, here's the other
They're
thing.
keeping all that real close.
Here's the other thing. His quote by the lawyer, which says, all of our options are on the table. We're going to hold to account the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Wait, no, let's back up. Antonio was defamed by this spin that he had a mental health episode that makes him someone who's not reliable to do a good job on the field. That's what the attorney said that they're saying. That's why they're going after them. I would tell you he's not a reliable person to do a good job on the field. He's been with 3 different football teams, and each time he left with some sort of incident, some sort of thing, and he's been in court for striking a moving van guy. I mean, that seems to me like
you want to play the judge thing. None of those have to do with on the field. And on the field, he's been fine.
It seems to me like that's questionable behavior, and I would question whether you can do a good job for me, and a good job for me would mean stay on my team and not get in trouble.
Well, I don't think he ever. I mean, I think this is the first team he's ever left like mid-season. All the other stuff happened off-season or stuff like that. Like the Raiders stuff.
Yeah.
The Raiders stuff was happening before the season started.
Right. And the Patriots stuff. And
Patriots stuff was
But
that was after the season.
But it still caused him to not be able to play football at some point for them. That's the whole point, is that you did something, whether it was off season or during the season, that caused you to not be able to play football for me anymore. That is the definition of doing a good job. I want you to do things that are going to make you still able to play football for me. Right. You're not helping me if you can't be on the field.
Right.
So,
but again, maybe so as I understand it, Tampa Bay next year is going to be in salary cap hell.
Yeah.
They can't afford. They couldn't. What I read is that they literally could not afford to pay him these things.
Right.
These bonuses that he was saying that he was entitled to or that he should have gotten. That's why when he went to them and said, "I need you to guarantee this," and they're like, "No." And then Tom Brady stops throwing his way.
Yeah. Well.
But he continues to throw to Gronk. Quoting in game, I'm going to get you that bonus.
Yeah, that's true.
There's definitely some. I mean, I'm not. The question is, would it surprise you if the the Buccaneers blackballed him? Absolutely not.
No.
Would it surprise you if Tom Brady cheated him out of bonuses? Absolutely not. So that's enough doubt on everyone's character.
Sure.
Antonio Brown's character has been very upfront. We know what we're getting with Antonio Brown. The problem is I need to know what I'm getting with these teams. Are they being upfront?
And why would you take him now, though? If you're an NFL general manager, would you take him on your team next year?
If you can get him cheap enough, yeah.
Oh, I mean, for next to nothing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not for next to nothing.
Oh.
If you could still pay him $2 million, he's still that good of a receiver. He still brings that kind of value to your team. Now, you should not pay him $30 million. You shouldn't pay him $20 million. I mean, what's it called? Mecole Hardman is making like $8 million a year. You shouldn't pay him Mecole Hardman money. But you should pay him like $1 million or $2 million a year. So if you can get him for that price, yeah, because you can cut him and it doesn't hurt you that bad.
So the question is then, at the end of the season, when you need him and he's quote unquote hurt, whether he is or not, I don't know.
Right.
But he's going to tell you that he's hurt and I can't play. Well, you're not helping my football team. I need to secure a playoff position. I need to do what I need to do. I mean, injuries happen, but if you're not hurt and you're doing that, which we don't know,
right?
I don't know. I don't know who's right in that instance, because now
that becomes a question. How many times have you ever second guessed another player being hurt? How many times have you ever, in your entire time watching the NFL, gone, other than when somebody's flopping, have you gone, I don't believe that guy's hurt?
I will tell you. So
the one time you've done it is when the Buccaneers said, "Well, we said it's fine."
It has nothing to do with the Buccaneers. It has to do with Antonio Brown's history. It has to do with him. I don't trust that he's telling me
making injuries.
No, but I don't trust that he's telling me the truth. I don't trust he's going to tell you the truth. I don't feel like he's a trustworthy option, and I would not have him on my football team.
Here, I completely agree with that statement, but also, for a fact, the NFL has lied to you.
Absolutely.
You know this for a fact.
Sure.
So Antonio Brown is equally as trustworthy as any NFL team.
Sure.
So the point is that I have no reason to doubt that he was hurt, that he said he was hurt. I have no reason to believe otherwise. I'm not questioning that he was hurt.
But
I don't know why people are necessarily.
Because
they said he was?
My point is, I have no reason to believe he was hurt.
Right, but when have you ever done that to anybody else?
Right.
When have you ever seen
doesn't-
somebody limp off or whatever and gone, I don't know about that, or somebody was ruled out for the game and you said, I don't know if I believe that. You're like, yeah, it's good, it's good. But this one time, the one team comes out and the person it's happening with, and it's like, all right, now I got questions about it.
I'm going to tell you this: if you suited up and you were ruled eligible to play, and you did play in this game.
Which he did, right?
Which he did.
He did play in that game,
right?
Yeah.
How hurt were you? How hurt were you at that point? Did you tell them when you started, I may not be able to go. This is going to be difficult. If you had this injury lingering since week 16, right, which they're talking about.
Yeah.
That's 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Has it been a thing? Did it keep you out of any of those games? And you're saying you're complaining that they injected you with Toradol, which is not illegal. The league says you should limit the use of it, but it's not illegal to do. So why is it now in this game when we needed you? Why was that a thing? Why was it all of a sudden a big deal to you? And when someone told you to go and then said, well, if you're not going to play, then get off the field, because coach is angry because you can't play because you can't help him now. I get it, and then you erupted in front of people, made a public display of it. You didn't have to, but you did. That's the credibility issue. If you had just walked off the field, walked to the locker room without doing what you did, I would be more on your side.
I know he made a spectacle of it, and that's enough for. I would have been able to predict that would be enough for you to go, I don't like it, not buying it, don't want a part of it. And that's why most people are thinking that and believing that and all that stuff. That being said, him overreacting is not. I'm not going to make the overreaction the story.
Right. Well,
I need to know more about what happened over here, and I need the Buccaneers to talk more. I need more evidence. I need NFL films to release one of those 60 cameras.
The problem we're going to have is that we're never going to know the actual
right. So we're just comfortable just being like, well, Antonio Brown must be a POS and it must be on him. And I think that's the issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but what if he is?
Not that he's entirely possible.
Then what?
But I know that he's not a great person. We're all in agreement.
Right.
I also know that the league are not great people.
Right.
We're all in agreement.
But
so I need more. I need more before I indict him, other than seeing him do jumping jacks and walking off a field. That's what we know happened. That's it. That's all that we actually know.
Right.
Everything else is he said, she said.
Right. But I'm just saying I've never seen an NFL player do that ever, and I'm sure this has happened before.
Player quit
this
in the middle of the game.
Situation where a coach told a player to get off the field or whatever. I'm sure it's happened in the league before, but I've never seen a guy react the way he reacted to it, and that's kind of weird. So just because I've never seen it doesn't mean that it's not okay.
Yeah.
It just means it's an odd reaction to me. That's one of those things where I would have just taken my helmet off and handed it to you and walked off. I wouldn't have done that, what he did.
Yeah, that's a tough one because, again, the reaction should not be the story.
You're right.
But that's what everything is focusing on is the reaction here. And by the way, he did miss a lot of games this week. He was out from week 6 to week 16, and there were texts between him and Bruce Arians talking about his injury.
So I'm wondering. So I'm wondering if Bruce Arians wasn't just upset that, hey, you haven't done anything. We've paid you all this money, and now you've been here the whole season and not done anything for us.
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, he's not coming out. He's not going to share those. You're never going to know that.
Right.
He's never going to share that because at this point, the NFL's lock-lipped on this whole subject,
right?
Hoping it just either one goes away, so that way they don't have to get summoned by a court to release the footage,
right?
Just like they're doing with the Washington Redskin crap.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. It's just tough.
We got to move on from Antonio Brown, but we will be back, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, he'll be back.
There's going to be more when the lawsuit happens. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So look at how clean cut Aaron Rodgers looks. Sure. By the way, I'm not sure what year this was taken, but some
I think he looks like he's like 26 or 27 in that
NFL
photo.
gala. I lost a lot of respect for Aaron Rodgers. He used to be poster boy, great football player. He was clean cut, playing in Green Bay. What more could you want out of life? But we're not talking. I'm not really talking about that. What I'm talking about is the fact that he looks like this now. So, which cut the hair. What is the deal with the long
this
hair?
flattering photo of him putting his foot up.
Right? I mean, and what is that about? What is that? Was one of the weirdest. We're talking about crazy moments in sports. This is one of those. What? Why are you showing me your foot?
Somebody asked a question about it.
I bet you could
They showed him.
just. So it begs the question: what if they had asked you about another part of your body? Would you have shown that too? Anyway,
Aaron Rodgers does not care.
he doesn't care.
What you or the press thinks anymore.
You're right. I agree.
And when they said, "Hey, what's going on with your foot?" He goes, well, "Let me freaking show you, bud. He's been in Green Bay too long." He's like, "Oh, you want to see?"
Yeah, right. It's too. Maybe he needs to move somewhere warmer where it's there's less.
His brain is freezing.
He doesn't have like sweating in his socks and it's causing his feet issues. I don't know. So here's the question: Aaron Rodgers, will he be a Packer next year?
I do not believe so.
Will he retire?
No.
So there's plenty of places for him to go play. Plenty
yeah.
of teams would take him. He's super efficient. He hangs onto the ball, but he's going to carry around this tag of not being able to win a playoff game.
Sure.
So that's a thing. I mean, I don't know. Would you take him if you needed a quarterback? Would you take him?
I do need a quarterback.
Okay. Would you take him on? What you talking about, Denver?
Yeah.
Would you take him on your team? And would he be the answer? Is the question for your team to move forward for the Denver Broncos? Let's say they took him, and would he be the answer? Would they be able, with just the addition of him, if they don't change anything else, would he lead them somewhere they haven't been, or?
So what I keep thinking about was when Peyton Manning left Indy, he had one Super Bowl, and he had a string of getting bounced out in the first and second round. A lot of that happened to him.
Right.
Not very different than what's happening to Aaron Rodgers. Now, he's a different person. He's a little easier to like talk to and things like that. But or he's a little easier to like kind of deal with. But yeah, not too different than him.
Yeah.
So that's where you're kind of getting. He's 11-9 as a playoff player.
Right.
And when Peyton came to Denver, yeah, he'd been in the league for quite a while, and he was. I mean, I'm trying to like look through it here, but he has probably close to 20 games in the playoffs, and only one Super Bowl run. Right. Most of these seasons are year one out in the first round, year one out in year two first round, year three first round, year 6 first round, year 9, 10 first round. So it happened a lot to Peyton.
Right.
It's happening to Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to indict him for playoff losses. He can turn his career around because Peyton then goes to Denver for 5 years, and over the course of the next 5 years, plays for 2 Super Bowls and wins 1. It's entirely possible that Rodgers can have that resurgence in his career. It's actually carrying the same trajectory.
Right.
So I see a lot of hope in his future. I don't think he's going to retire. What's gonna hose him versus Peyton is everyone likes Peyton Manning.
Right.
Not everyone likes Aaron Rodgers right now. I think in 4 months, no one will care again.
Oh, probably.
The internet forgets very fast.
It's true.
And our news show won't be talking about it in 4 months. So
that's probably true.
So yeah. I still think I think there's a lot of hope for his future. I think he can go somewhere. I think if my team needed him, if the Broncos would take Aaron Rodgers, I think it'd be a great place for him. It's one of those few teams that's on that short list for him. Because they already have receivers, they've already got a decent line, and they've already got a defense.
Right.
Kind of a lot of what you need. Problem is they're breaking in a head coach. He says he wants to go somewhere. He wants to be somewhere where he can win. That's kind of tough. But I don't know. A lot of options out there.
If you take out their Super Bowl year, right? 2011. Well, it's 2010, 2011, the 2010 season. If you take out that Super Bowl year that they won and they won 4 games to win the Super Bowl, then he's what as a playoff guy? He's this
was that 4 was it 4 games or 3 games to get a first round bye?
4, and then they played all 4. So they're 12-10 according to this thing. He's 12-10 as a quarterback in the playoffs, or his teams are. So if you take out those 4 games, they're 8-10. Which they get to the playoffs, but this was the old Portland Trailblazer thing. The Portland Trailblazers always get to the playoffs, not going anywhere. And it's almost less helpful to get to where you are than it would be to just drop some games and get a better draft pick. But if you're going to get knocked out and bounced out in the first round, and to be fair, he's only done that 3 times in his career, been knocked out in the first round. So
right,
he's at least won 1 game in a lot of these. So I don't know. It just seems like that big game and it seems like
Peyton Manning was 9-9 when he left Indy to
Yeah.
come to Denver in playoff games, and that includes a 4-0 Super Bowl run in there. If you take out the Super Bowl run,
right.
Peyton Manning is 5-9.
So they could have been, yeah. But you just the thing I feel like is I feel like the Green Bay team has been better than the Indianapolis team that Peyton was on. I feel like the Green Bay team every year you say this is a Super Bowl team. This is a team that can make it a Super Bowl, and they don't. I didn't ever say that about Indianapolis. Only a couple times where you go, "Wow, it's really good."
Well,
I don't know. Maybe it's just
I guess
perception.
that's kind of fair. I felt like Peyton Manning had some serious weapons around him.
He did.
Whereas you think that I believe that Devontae Adams is a serious weapon of the Marvin Harrison caliber, like fantastic. I don't believe that Aaron Jones is that great without a great team or without Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams being there. Without Aaron Rodgers next to him, I think Aaron Jones is a lot worse.
Right.
So I don't think there's another person on that team that jumps that level. But Peyton Manning had some other guys who were still very high level, who you thought who were successful, who could be successful without him. So yeah, it's tough when you lose a great quarterback and things like that. Obviously, it's a shock to the team. But I would say that I think that Peyton Manning's teams were top to bottom better than Aaron Rodgers' teams. Right. But it is a passing league now, and Peyton didn't play in a passing league. He played in a running league and he was a passer in a running league, and it was a very weird time for him. But yeah, I know. I think that Aaron Rodgers has had a little harder time with talent.
Right.
And yeah, but that opens him up now to go to a lot of places where there is talent.
Right. So okay. So let's talk about this. Tom Brady got his first unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, by the way, which we didn't talk about during the game, but that was fun to watch.
It was interesting.
I mean, I don't get how after 20-something years you've decided to now make the world, to be super angry about this one call. This has to have happened sooner. There has to have been a call where you would have gotten an unsportsmanlike. He just is unapologetically, I'm at the end of my career and I don't care anymore. Okay. But, if they didn't call it, they didn't call it. And you weren't going to call it now, and yelling at the referee wasn't going to help you unless you think you're going to get a call later.
I think it's exactly. I think he thought that maybe they'd throw it just afterward, or maybe he's just trying to tell him like, hey, that's not acceptable. You would throw that flag 9 times out of 10. Why'd you not do it now? Throw it next time.
Right. I'm of the belief that hey, you've benefited from 1 billion calls. More have gone your way than not in your career.
Right.
This is probably not the time to pick that fight because you didn't help yourself at all. You didn't help the team. Sure.
Being fair, they were leading this game at the end of it for a brief period, so it didn't necessarily hurt him either.
Yeah.
Long term, I don't know. It's one of those things, right? Like, yeah, he's not been penalized for this hardly ever.
Ever.
He has not been penalized ever for it, but that doesn't mean that he should shut his mouth on the one, because honestly, this might have been the time when he actually deserved one, because he got popped in the chin. So it was like, for once, I'm like, damn, Tom Brady gets flagged. Yes, maybe he doesn't deserve it.
No, maybe he doesn't. But I mean, you can't say what he apparently said to the referee. I mean, you can't and get away with it. And most times he probably did. Maybe he's done that before and gotten away with it. Maybe that's why he felt comfortable doing it. I don't know. But anyway, the question I have is not about penalties. The question I had was, is he going to retire?
No.
No?
No way.
Okay.
Because he's taking time to think about it. No, he's taking time to see if Gronk wants to hang out in Tampa for longer.
And he says it every year, I think, at this point.
Oh yeah. Taking time to think about it.
Yeah, I want to be a family guy. For what? 4 months? All right.
He's just trying to determine if him and Gronk want to keep chilling.
I mean, I think Gronkowski can do this forever. He's going to get hurt occasionally, but he's 7 times bigger than any other player on the field.
And he only catches like he catches quite a bit, but he doesn't. His workload, I feel like, is down.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to do a whole lot. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, when you watch him, there's some blocking in there, sure, and he catches a few balls a game, but they're big plays, and you're the most gigantic target on the field. It's an easy target for a quarterback who's accurate to find it. Even if you're slow, even if you can't, he's going to find you. Why? Because you take up so much space that nobody can defend all of you, I guess is the way I'm trying to say it.
I guess his receptions aren't down that much. I
no.
mean, he's 55 this year and 45 last year. His last year at the Patriots, he had 47. The year before, he was 69.
Right.
Oh, I remember that because it was a whole thing that Gronk had 69 receptions, and he like batted the 70th one away or something like that.
He made it. He made it a deal. He made it a thing.
Classic Gronk. But then the year before, he had 25. But then he did have a big workload. So his last 3 full years there were 69, 72, and 82. So he definitely did have a bigger workload at one point. But I mean, this team now also has more receiving weapons than that team then.
Yeah. Okay.
So, including Antonio Brown.
Just curious. I mean, at some point in time, he's going to retire. It's just a matter of when. Do you think
I hope he does it unceremoniously? I hope it's not a retirement tour.
I was going to say, do you think his ego is such that he needs some accolades and needs to go around one time, or won't quit until he wins another title, even though if he isn't at that level anymore? Do you think he's that
never
guy?
been of the belief that Tom Brady actually has a large ego. I just think he's a huge competitor, and sometimes those two things look the same because they come off as brash and kind of arrogant, but it's just passion. I don't think, well, I mean, you see him in the off season, right? He's pretty low key. He doesn't make a lot of news other than when he's like going to a gala or something like that with his wife, but he's not he's not doing a lot. So I feel like he doesn't need spotlight, but he does need to win. So the only way I could see him having trouble or going through a retirement tour is if he feels like he needs to win one more. So maybe they win one next year and he can go out. Well, he's already got the most.
Right.
So
I mean, he doesn't have
I don't know what else he has to prove.
He has nothing to prove.
Maybe he just wants to ensure that it's out of reach.
All right, a couple more things to talk about. The United States Football League is coming back April 16th, by the way, the season starts. 8 teams, and they're named. I mean, they're part of the original 8 teams or original teams that were in the 1983 version of the USFL, the initial one. So you got the Michigan Panthers, the Philadelphia Stars, the New Jersey Generals, Pittsburgh Maulers, Birmingham Stallions, Houston Gamblers, New Orleans Breakers, Tampa Bay Bandits. It's a North and a South division. If you're looking at the picture on here, the teams on the top there are North and the teams on the bottom are South. And what I find interesting about about these things is the like the Pittsburgh Maulers. Okay, so the Pittsburgh Maulers have a guy with a hard hat and a I don't know what that is, a mallet. It's a big, what do you call that? Sledgehammer?
He's a steel. Yeah, he's a sledgehammer.
He's a steel guy. So they're the Steelers, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. The Tampa Bay Bandits are different than the Buccaneers. How exactly? They're just not on the ocean?
Well, yeah, they're land criminals.
Land criminals. I mean, those kind of team names were, and then of course we have the New Orleans Breakers. If you remember the USFL, they were the Boston, New Orleans, Portland Breakers. In three seasons, they went to 3 different places to play football.
Too much.
Yeah, which is weird.
I just feel like the Houston Gamblers need to update their damn logo.
Oh no, it's fantastic.
It's so
classic.
Old looking. Them and the Philadelphia Stars. The Philadelphia Stars looks like an ad in an old mall.
These are 40-year-old logos. These are not new. This is the same logos from back 40 years ago. These exactly the same.
That's a problem.
So
it's a bigger problem that somebody in 40 years ago was like, I have an idea for a team. Like, let's call it the Stars. Like, ooh, I like that. All right, what's our colors going to be? Crimson, orange, gold, and white, like a flame.
The flaming stars.
The flaming stars.
I don't know. The uniforms from the old USFL, and I didn't pull up any of them, and I should have, were ugly. A lot of the uniforms were ugly. The Houston Gamblers actually had good-looking uniforms. The rest of them, like the Philadelphia Stars, they look like the Boston College Eagles.
Oof.
Gold and red, and it kind of blah. The New Jersey Generals were literally just red and white, and they had that gold general logo on their helmet and on their shoulder pads. I think they were ugly looking. The uniforms were ugly, but it was the mid '80s, and if you're going to have ugly uniforms, that's the time. But anyway, these teams are going to start April 16th. It's the first game. By the way, there's no West Coast teams.
Yeah, it happens.
That's confusing to me. This is a Eastern United States football league.
They're breaking it in. It happens.
Mm-hmm. How do you leave out a gigantic audience in L.A., San Francisco? San Diego doesn't have a football team. I'll bet they'd take one. Anyway,
where the hell are they going to put it?
Here's the
stadium that's falling apart.
So here's the second question, which is all of these teams, all of the games this year are going to be in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Why do I have the Philadelphia Stars then? Why is that the team name? They're not going to play a single game in Philadelphia. But next year,
like this. It's the what's it called? It's like the bubble.
The bubble. Yeah.
It's
anyway,
cool.
The first game is going to be on NBC and Fox. It's going to be simulcast on both stations. It's a big deal. Fox is all in on this, by the way, which is why if you go look for USFL information, you will not find it on ESPN. ESPN is not going to cover any of this because they do not like this. It's vying for their football audience. Even though they don't play at the same time, they're not going to cover it. They will cover it when it starts playing, but they're not going to cover any of the additional crap. So anyway, if you want to learn about it, USFL2.com is the website. But there's not much on there. There's really
all right.
Here's
a bigger thing. So kudos to Fox for getting this off the ground, I guess. The USFL's website is actually called USFL2.com.
That's what I just said.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that.
That's okay.
Did you go look at one?
Yes. Yes.
The Frontline thing?
USFL. Yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking weird with all the Chinese writing on it.
Right.
And I think that's Korean writing. No, that's Chinese. It's Chinese.
Right.
Or
anyway.
maybe USFL 1. They literally went through, USFL 1 can't be reached. It's not a real thing.
Former Oregon State head coach Mike Riley is one of the coaches. So
yeah, nobody cares. Mike Riley just needs to chill.
Yeah, Kevin Sumlin too, one of the coaches.
Also, he needs to. Nobody cares.
I know. If you want to buy tickets, you can go on the website. There's a button there. You can click and buy tickets. By the way, all the tickets are $10 to that inaugural game, which I find to be fantastic. $10 for a football game. Okay, I'd go if I lived in Birmingham. Right. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's happening. Just letting everyone know that's the USFL's a thing again, and it's coming back. And anyway, we're gonna talk a little bit more about it here with the trivia question. Just give me a minute. Last couple things. Former Gonzaga University standout and Utah Jazz guard John Stockton had his season tickets to the Gonzaga men's basketball season suspended because of his refusal to comply with their mask mandate.
Classic John.
I don't know. I mean, he's a big outspoken anti-vaxxer, right? And denier, whatever you want to call it. And he won't wear a mask. And so I think that's the right answer. I mean, if you're not going to follow the procedure, then why should you be any kind of special? But he has a platform because he's an NBA Hall of Famer. So now he's going to speak out about it like it's a thing. Well, if you hadn't spoken out about it, no one would know. No one would have cared. But he spoke out about it. So now it's a big deal. And I'm like, well, you knew what the rules were before the season started. I'm sure they had those rules. They didn't just implement them yesterday. So follow the rules. And you can go watch all the games. Why is it such a big deal that you can't tell me to wear a mask? Yeah, we can. We absolutely can. It's a private university. It's not even a public university. So anyway, I don't know. I don't understand the stand taken right there. You know, I would just comply if it was me. If that's what you want to do, is you want to be at the basketball games, then that's what you got to do. You and I do it when we go to football games. It's part of the rules. I got to do it.
We can just not go.
Or you can just not go. That's absolutely the other option.
But see, this is you want to talk about the entitled generation.
Yeah.
Look at all the old white guys who want to have their cake by going to the sporting event and eat it too by not wearing the mask.
Right. Well, that's true.
Where do you think the dumb kids today learned it?
Well, his daughter plays for the Gonzaga women's team.
Is she any good?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey. She's very good.
Is she gonna make a WNBA run?
Oh, probably. So, I mean, and he won't wear a mask there either. But anyway.
Yeah, but they can put him in a box there.
Right, and he'll be away, right?
Gonzaga Stadium, it's tiny.
Right, separate him.
It's not tiny. But
they have a gym, right, as opposed to a stadium.
Right. That's a great distinction. It's a gym.
Most schools, private schools, small schools, and Gonzaga is not a very big university. Basketball is the only thing they really have of any note. They have
She
other
actually
sports.
left. She actually left the school. She's no longer. She plays in Germany now.
Right. She's gone from Gonzaga, but she's a good player. There aren't that many slots in the WNBA. It's not that
Did
many
John
teams.
Stockton play at Gonzaga?
Yeah.
Oh.
His number's retired. Anyway,
Good for him.
let's talk about the MLB Hall of Fame admitted one person this year. And it's
One
David,
person, yep.
Is David Ortiz.
Yeah, which is not a bad person to admit.
I'm okay with, right? I mean, that's a good representative of baseball, right? He's the 4th Dominican player ever in the Hall of Fame.
Fair.
I think it's a good pick. So the question, but what's most notable about it is the people that didn't get picked, and that would include Roger Clemens,
right?
Barry Bonds,
Mm-hmm.
Curt Schilling,
Mm-hmm.
and Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were on their last year of baseball writer eligibility. So the baseball writers are not putting them in the Hall of Fame. There is a committee of at the Hall of Fame that can vote them in later. But I don't know if they will. And I've heard two different schools of thought on this whole thing, and one is, they don't deserve to be in because there was cheating. But I think everybody was cheating.
Well, Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds never failed a PED test during their careers.
Okay. Does it mean they weren't cheating?
That's not the point. Doesn't mean that somebody from the 70s wasn't using spider tack or
and I'm sure they
tar
were.
underneath their the things change, and you have to deal with what you actually have, not what you suspect you have.
Right.
What you have is that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were never caught cheating, never even accused of cheating. Not in like a broad way, but Ortiz was.
Well,
Ortiz was accused of cheating
and
a couple times.
After their careers, well, even at the end of Clemens' career, they were already talking about his interaction with clubhouse personnel and the things that he ordered, the things that he got from them. And so, I mean, I don't know. Barry Bonds, you can see the transformation. I hate to.
It seems like he got jacked real fast.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see him from when he was in Pittsburgh, and he was a skinny, fast outfielder with power, to when he became this gigantic person with a head 3 times the size of what he had before. If that wasn't because of performance enhancing, I don't know what was.
But being fair, chubby Ortiz,
he's
all
always
of a
been
sudden,
big. But
him being big and him being able to be big and consistent is a pretty impressive thing. There's not many guys that have done that. How many Hall of Famers, how many people with the numbers that he has look the way he looks?
Mm-hmm. Not that many.
It could be PEDs on his side too.
It could be.
Not for working out, just for hitting the baseball.
It could be. And I think Curt Schilling's not in just because his political / personal views on the world is the reason.
He's got some things going on right now that are making him a little rough.
Yeah. But he still has a chance to get in. I don't know that he will either, but anyway.
But I think people need to kind of rise up and create a new Hall of Fame. Like let's just start ignoring the writers over there and those people.
Here's what I will tell you. You can in my opinion, if it was up to me, I will tell you it's a package deal. You can let Barry Bonds in. You can let Roger Clemens in if you let Pete Rose in.
Well, Pete Rose, but see, that's just it. Pete Rose should be in.
He should
be
in.
The only reason he's not is because of some horse crap that people just won't get over.
Right. And none of which happened when he was a player. It was afterwards when he was a manager. And so as a player, he should be in the Hall of Fame. He's the all-time leader in hits. No one's going to pass that because you don't play as long as he did and you don't get as many hits as he did. So
it's unfortunate, and I don't know what the ages are of the people who make the decisions for the Hall of Fame. I don't know if that has something to do with it. Are they older people?
Oh, they're old.
I'm assuming they're older. I'm assuming they've all been, sports writers for a long time.
Right, most of them.
But even then, it just At what point are you like? Can you not? How do these people not recognize that they're just upset to be upset, or they're just denying people to deny people? And at what point are we just going to stop validating them and go, all right, well, you can vote on your thing, but hey, we just built this new Hall of Fame over here, and we let most people in, so you do your thing over there.
So we got 3 things left. let's get to them and get out, because I was going to cover a little bit of NBA and NHL. We're running out of time. We don't have that kind of time. So we're going to talk about this, which is crazy moments in sports. Just in general, in sports history. And this one, you're going to like this one. This is the first one of these for us. And so I'm going to let this play. This is a video clip, and I'm going to let it play. And notice right at the beginning, I want you to watch. This is at a hockey rink in, I think it's Rochester, New York, junior hockey league, like a kids hockey league. And watch the Zamboni. Watch it do this crazy Miami Vice 3-point spin turn, and then see what happens. Yeah, that'd be hydraulic fluid.
Put too much strain on it.
He did this crazy turn, broke something, and now the whole Zamboni is driving across the
He's still driving.
He's still driving it. He didn't jump off. He's taking it out. It's not on his side, to be fair. All the fire kind of went on the other side of it. But he drove it in flames off the ice. Anyway, that's a crazy moment in sports number one. I found, I don't know, I found that to be super interesting, just in general. Anyway, I thought it was super funny. That happened last year.
Zambonis aren't meant to go that fast, but
I mean, what a turn that guy made. He came
put that
out.
thing up. He put that thing up to like 500 RPMs. It should never be that high.
He was who let Danny Ricciardo drive the Zamboni. Anyway, so that's all I have except the trivia question. Do you have something you want to talk about?
Oh, I did, but I 100% forgot what it was.
Oh, you were gonna?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna talk about. So I've been sick for the last week. And I was talking about something that kind of grinds my gears, which is that none of the medicines are any good. Oh,
yeah. Oh, sorry.
Getting that
residual.
Second pass at it. I
Yeah,
like that.
Sorry. Go ahead.
He's on fire again. None of the medicines are any damn good. And furthermore, I got carded for medicines around here. I got carded for buying like benzocaine, things with benzocaine, which numb your throat. Which was making me going to ask you, do you ever remember getting carded for these things, like in Germany or in Tennessee?
Never. I've never been carded for. Well, the only thing that if you buy like a Claritin or something of that nature.
Sure.
Now, they'll take your ID because you're only allowed to buy so much, and they have to take a record of it. That's like a state law.
Well, in Sudafed, like true Sudafed, not like PE or whatever. Everywhere I've ever lived, you've had to have an ID for that because it's a controlled substance.
It's a meth.
But it just like I'm trying to buy like VapoCool sore throat spray.
I don't know.
And I have to have some little lady walk over here and check my ID and go, "Oh, are you sick?" Like I didn't really want to talk about it. I just wanted to buy the crap and go home.
I just cough on him. Are you sick?
Oh no! As I'm handing it to him.
No, I'm good.
I wasn't trying to do all that. But yeah, between that and the other message, there's no good tasting cough drops. There's no good tasting, what's it called? Nighttime severe stuff. There's no good tasting anything.
Yeah.
How have we not figured this out? Why is science not paving the way into flavorful medicines? Or is it being bad as what keeps you from taking it for too long?
20.
Because if it tasted like green apple, you might just keep going.
21st century, you think we could overcome this stuff? I mean, you think the science,
first world problems at the max.
The science would have advanced enough. I mean, I'm happy that it's potent enough to knock me out because that's really all I want to do is go to bed. Usually when it happens, but I also would like the other strength where I can actually continue to function. But it doesn't. Yeah, if it doesn't taste like cough syrup, I mean, it just tastes like cough syrup. All that stuff does. Doesn't matter what you take. And heaven forbid you get like one of those little capsules or one of those little gel caps stuck when you're trying to take it, and you get that residual taste in your throat for like however long, and you're like, I don't know. Hey, yeah, you're right. I don't know why they can't make it taste or make it not taste at all. Make it taste like water. I mean, can't we just have a neutral nothing? It doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We have no way to figure this out.
Yeah,
but...
right. Where's the pumpkin pie flavored? Can you put it in my pumpkin spice latte?
I'll say pumpkin spice NyQuil.
Right, pumpkin spice for fall. That's the right thing.
It's
I agree.
Sixth season anyways.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I feel your pain. Trivia question. Stave & Stone trivia, or I always forget. The best Lamb Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates. Go to the winery at the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, or the downtown tasting room at 210 Oak Street. Fantastic wine. They're wonderful people. You can call them 541-WINE-750. That's 541-946-3750 for more information. You can email them, info@stavenstone.com. You're going to need reservations. Either go on the website or call them for a reservation. But that's Stave & Stone, Wines with Personality, the sponsor of our Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question. Trivia question was, can you name...
never actually asked me. But
I did. I want you to name 2 of the 3 USFL MVPs.
Yeah, I know one.
They had 3 seasons. Okay, who's the one?
I know Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly was the 1984 MVP of the USFL.
That's the only one that I know.
Okay. The 85 one you should know, and that's Herschel Walker.
Oh, you showed the picture of him.
I know,
thought
right?
Those 2 things weren't related.
No, they were absolutely related, and I blew it. So Jim Kelly, NFL Hall of Famer Jim Kelly, was the 84 from the Houston Gamblers. And in 1985, Herschel Walker from the New Jersey Generals was the MVP. And here's a picture of the Donald with Herschel Walker, because the Donald owned that team, by the way. He was one of the organizers of the USFL. And then in 1983, the first year, it was Kelvin Bryant of the Philadelphia Stars.
Why does that sound familiar?
Kelvin Bryant went to North Carolina. He was a fantastic running back. Never amounted to anything when he did get an NFL shot, but he was good in the USFL for 1 year. Well, actually 2. But anyway, that's your 3. So maybe somebody knew that, maybe somebody didn't. I don't know.
I'm gonna guess people didn't.
I'm gonna guess people didn't. You should know Jim Kelly, that he played in the USFL.
That's the only reason I know Jim Kelly is because a couple years ago they were doing all those like videos of him when he was getting over cancer and things like that.
Right.
And they just kept showing that over and over again, so it just stuck with me.
Awesome. So that's all we have for today. And we're going to be back next week, airing on Wednesday the 2nd. We're going to cover those NFL championship games. We will get to the NBA and the NHL, I promise, next week. And I say that now. And we'll have another crazy moment in sports. So that's going to be a new I like it. Again, we're streaming on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. We're on Facebook at the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can email us, lambsports@gmail.com. I want to thank ESPN, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, USFL, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and of course, our sponsors, the Ranger Yakima, Boston, Yarns, and Davidson Wednesday, Skip the River. This has been Rain Rock Productions.